Oh,
Okay,
recording in
hello,
progress.
hello. Yeah,
Yeah, how
yeah.
are
So
you?
that I'm good. So how are you today, Alex? How's everything going? Yeah.
It's good. I just woke up like 30 minutes ago. Took a shower.
Okay,
So
yeah, I
yeah,
can see that
I'm
your
all
hair is
set.
a bit wet.
I'm all
Yeah,
set.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I'm all.
My hair is wet because
Yeah.
I dabbed it with water. But
All right. Got it.
yeah, yeah. So yeah,
Um.
so today we wanted to kind of record this session to sort of it's kind of a practice for both of us. Also, it could be interesting for other people to hear our conversation. So this could be useful for other language learners, but also for other people who are interested in the topics that we're interested in. So yeah,
Yeah.
today Alex and I wanted to talk about perhaps socialism. Is
Yeah.
socialism coming back? Did we ever even have socialism? Is that was that even
Yeah.
practical? Yeah,
Doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense. Like
this.
what sort of socialism do you
I, I I
envision?
guess one of the things that a lot of people conflate is they conflate communism with socialism. Yeah,
What's the difference?
what do you think is the difference? Do you think there is
No,
a
what do you
difference,
think?
or
You because you
hmm,
brought it up, so you tell me.
well, my my opinion is that the principles of communism was to do with ownership, right? It was to do with
Right.
ownership of property, and the idea was that the people would own property instead of it being in the hands of
Right.
the sort of corporate owners. However, what ended up happening was that the government owned everything, and then they gave it to whoever they wanted.
Yeah.
Socialism,
Exactly.
on the
But
other, mhm,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Go. No. No, go ahead. Sorry. I
and
was
and,
just about to
and
interrupt you.
and socialism, on the other hand, is more about the idea that the government has to have some responsibility in taking care of the well-being of people. That the well-being of people are
Right.
not completely in their own
Right.
hands. There is
So it's
some
not.
responsibility on the
It.
society, on the social fabric to keep the well-being of the society up. That's
So
sort of my understanding. Yeah.
to put it simply, socialism is just an idea of an extended government, like
Mm.
where because like limited government is where you just allow the government to do like a limited amount of things, like policing, what else, like army, foreign affairs,
Right.
blah blah blah. And in the modern understanding of socialism, or what you just described, is sort of like you extend the uh, the government with additional capabilities, where it basically is responsible for the well-being of people,
Right. Right.
which takes
Mm.
responsibility away from the people and sort of puts it on the shoulders of the government, so to speak.
Right, right.
Which
The
makes
reason, yeah,
Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, the idea is it's about resource allocation. It's about
Yeah,
naturally there are the haves and the have-nots. There are the people that seem to have, and the people that don't have. They have limited capabilities or limited means to ensure
mm.
that they have a good life, right? Especially when we
So
have things like inflation and things like that. Um,
so to what extent should we allow the government to extend itself into sort of into this area? Like, should everybody have a some kind of welfare, or like a set income from the government?
This is an interesting one because I do think that there needs to be a push in different angles, different directions. It's not just about the expression, the proverb, and I think it's a Chinese proverb. Give a man. Originally, is to do with rice, but I'll give the Western version, which is that give a man a fish, you
Oh,
feed him for a day. Give a man, teach him how to fish, you feed him for a lifetime. And I
yeah,
think,
totally.
the
Yeah,
part of
it makes sense though.
yeah, right. So one of the flaws of socialism is that we're saying we need the government to give everyone fish.
Right.
I
But who's
think
entitled?
too. Who's entitled? Well, who's entitled? The people who don't have, obviously, right? But but
Why they don't have?
why they don't have? In my humble opinion, they simply weren't born into it, right? I think the
Well,
rich
okay.
stay rich and the poor
Well,
stay poor, more or less.
yeah,
Yeah.
that
Mm,
makes
mm.
sense. That makes sense. But I mean, if there's a disabled person, so to speak, uh,
Right.
so
Right.
they are sort of like more entitled than an ordinary person, right? And again, let's just yeah, let's just turn the angle a little bit because like first of all, if you give to somebody, where do you take the money? Who do you take the money from to give to somebody?
Well, this is the thing. This is to do with priorities. You see, uh, you, every government has a budget, right? And they're also able to
Yeah.
borrow money, which is why several governments in the world are in a deficit rather than, but they're in debt basically. So it's about priorities. You can either put a lot of eggs in the military basket, so to speak. You can put a lot of budget towards that, or you can put a lot of budget towards the welfare. So if you look at the Scandinavian countries, right, they put a lot of their oil money. Let's say I think is it Denmark or Norway? I think it's Norway. Norway,
No, yeah,
they
Norway
had
has a lot of oil. Yeah.
yeah, Norway, they had a lot of oil, and using that oil money, they were able to give a sort of minimum, quality of life
Yeah.
for everyone, and that's sort of what I'm talking about. You know,
Uh,
um,
but but do you remember Breivik? Do you remember that guy who shot like and killed a lot of people in Norway?
no, but what was the story about that? Yeah.
The story is that there was a guy who basically who it was a political killing, by the way. It wasn't just like a random killing. So he got into some kind of youth camp in Norway for the youth camp for sort of
Norway,
the
yeah. Hmm.
children
Hmm.
of the
Hmm.
political elites, and he killed like 50 people there with a rifle and with a lot of rifles. And
Okay.
he in his manifesto, well, he was very unsatisfied with government, policies on immigration, I guess. And one of the things he wasn't satisfied with is the socialistic policies, like socialist-ish policies, which didn't allow him to grow his business because
Right. Right.
he was allowed to sort of have like, say he was a farmer or something, like he was allowed to have, I don't know the exact numbers, but he was allowed to have like 100 cows, and above 100, it was it the government made it unprofitable
So here's
because
a
the tax
question.
was huge. Yeah.
Should we have billionaires? Here's a question, right? Should we have billionaires? Should that even be allowed to exist, right? As a as a thing, right? You know,
Well, if I mean, if sort of if they exist, like it's a natural fact.
it's a natural
Should we
fact.
have
Why?
beggars?
Why is it a natural fact?
Well, because we live in a system which allows the people to accumulate wealth.
Exactly. That's the point. That's the word, the key word, accumulate, right? You know,
Yeah.
why should wealth be accumulated in even in any area? Shouldn't wealth be moving, circulating rather than
Because
accumulating?
uh, yeah, well, it does circulate at the same time.
That's it
But
though.
the point,
That's it
but
though.
yes, it does. Yes, it does.
Mm.
Yes, it does. But the point is that if you want to accumulate wealth, nothing is there to stop you from doing that. And because I mean, but what are the alternatives? What what will be the alternative to accumulating wealth?
The alternatives is maybe a world where everyone has enough, but no one is super wealthy. Yeah. Mm.
Yeah. And how much is that? How much money is that per person?
Surprisingly little, right? If you,
Give me your numbers.
yeah, I would say in the ballpark of $1,000, right? In the
Per month.
non-developed world, in the sort of developing countries, in the sort of if we talk about not non-European, not the West, right? In the global South,
Yeah.
right? We're talking about $1,000 a month, right? So that
A month.
includes Russia, that includes
Oh
China,
yeah.
right? So that
Very much
includes
so.
Southeast Asia,
So
Africa, so South America. So $1,000 a month. In the other
right.
countries, we're talking potentially minimum of 2,000, but probably
Okay.
in the ballpark of $2,500, right, a month.
So what
And
happens
then
if the person makes more than that?
well, then what happens then is that he has more material advantages over others, right? And then he will
That's true.
use that material advantage to give more advantages to his kids and himself, right? And so,
Absolutely.
right, so he sends his kids to the best schools. He gives his kids the best foods. Or sometimes he gives his kids the
Absolutely.
medicines that they need, right? And so
Yeah.
they take and others don't have because there's a kind of shortage. Because essentially, this is the problem with wealth. Wealth attracts resources to itself. That's the problem.
That's true.
Yeah.
It's like a magnet. Yeah.
Right, right. So what we need
But
is to allow the privilege of wealth without and mitigating the sucking ability of the wealth, right?
right.
You know.
However, I would disagree here because what you just described, like $1,000 or like euro or whatever per month, is not wealth. Just it's not even
It's
rich. It's just
right, right, right.
very
It's living. It's living. Yeah, 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 yeah.
yeah. It's just living, and so I would disagree that even having like 10,000 euro per month would classify as wealth
Yes,
because
I would think
well
so. I would think so. Yeah.
well you if you're wealthy you can like literally buy a lot of people, like you can buy a lot of stuff, and then it sort of it gives you the political power and everything. But even $10,000 per month will not give you anything like that because you wouldn't
In
be
the
able,
US,
yeah, you would be
sure.
able.
In the Philippines, it would give you everything, right? Yeah. Mm.
Well, not everything though, not everything. Like
Okay, not
it
everything,
would give
but
you more. It would give you more influence, right? But very far from everything.
right,
Like,
right. You can still be
yeah,
like,
Manny Pacquiao could still come and like beat you up.
no, like we had this recent scandal in the Philippines with the Descaya family, and she basically flaunted her wealth that she accumulated with using corrupt means, and the government's taking it all away from her now. So,
Really?
just yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
so
yeah,
she
yeah.
was like basically she was bragging that she
Had
used
40
corruption
car
a lot.
40 cars and all that stuff, right? She
Right.
basically took the
Oh,
government budget and she took it. Like this government budget meant for flood
and
constructions.
she was open about it. She was open
Yes.
about it. She
She just
oh that
bragged.
that's the point. That's the point. I mean,
I mean,
if she kept her mouth shut, she would be okay with all her
yeah,
40
this is the
cars.
funny thing. But this is I think this is the other thing that we also have to acknowledge. The people with money, not necessarily wealth, but the people with money, they become disconnected from reality. And
Oh yeah.
if we look at our governments, our politicians, and the people, the corporate leaders, they're all wealthy. So they're disconnected from the reality of the common people. They can't understand what it means for the price of eggs to go up. It doesn't
Yeah,
mean
well, at
anything
the
to
same
them.
time,
You
even in the
know,
Philippines, there are certain limitations, right? So,
even in
like you just
the Philippines,
even in
right?
the Philippines, yeah, there are
Yeah,
certain limitations which they can't go beyond, like there are limits. So, like you just said, that lady, she started basically she broke this sort of unwritten law, and she
yeah,
got in trouble, right?
yeah, right,
Again, so what you say is that there should be limitations, like certain limits of wealth a person can accumulate, right?
right.
But does it sort of at the same time does it destroy like the incentive for everybody to work?
Well, here's the thing.
Doesn't it
I,
destroy it?
I'm trying to learn some Tagalog recently, and I picked up a book. And although so there are parts of it that were in English. So what's really interesting is a book about saving and making money and about financial literacy, I think, but written in Tagalog, but with some English in it. And in the beginning of the book, he quotes a biblical verse, right? Please let me just have enough, not too much, not too little, not too much so that I don't say, "Where's the Lord?" and not too little so that I end up stealing, right? To have so basically just enough. What's really
Right.
interesting is that I think there are several people that would be satisfied with enough, right? I
Yeah,
certainly, so what I mean is the majority of the people in the world are not, they don't dream of having $10,000 a month. They only dream of that because they think it will give them everything. But in reality, 1,000, 2,000, even $3,000 can give them everything that they want, right? Not everything that can be had, but everything that
yeah.
they want.
But
And I think
here's a
that's the
little
point.
here's a little
Mm,
but.
yeah.
As long as you're young, that's true. But what if you're
Okay.
old and you need a lot of medical treatment and stuff? So the
Well,
$1,000 per month is nothing,
Well, that's
even in the
true.
Philippines.
This is this is the thing. Now, in several countries, this is where socialism comes into play. In several countries, you can get
Right,
your
right.
treatment. So
Okay,
like for example, in the NHS and in the UK, my father had kidney failure. He got all of his immunosuppressants for free. Cancer patients get it for
right,
free.
right.
So we
But
can
do they
have
have
that.
to,
Hmm.
to do they have to queue for it?
Do they have to queue for it? No,
You know
no,
what
they
I mean?
don't.
Yeah. No, they don't. But what if
No.
they do?
What if they do that? That's a problem, right? That's a
Oh yeah.
problem.
So
But
and that's
that's an
where money
admin
could get,
problem.
but
That's an admin problem.
that's where money could basically take you there without having to queue, right?
Sure,
Do you
sure.
agree?
Money could potentially circumvent those things, but the reality is this is an admin problem. It's not a money problem,
So again,
right?
what I don't like about socialism is that there are certain people who basically will be in charge of allocating resources, a lot of
Hmm.
resources. And how do I know those people are like good? And how do I know they don't have ill intent?
Well, this comes back down to the electoral system, and and how much do you trust that election process, right? Yeah.
I don't trust. I don't trust at all. So
Well then,
what is the cure?
you see, the reality is, right? We currently have systems that are already in place now.
Right.
You see, what's really interesting is there's two mentalities that people have. One is reformation, and the other one is revolution. So a
Right.
lot of people are thinking we need to reform the current system. The system is okay; it just needs to be fixed here and there and there. There are others like yourself, it seems, maybe even me, that believe in a revolution, that the whole thing needs to be scrapped and the whole thing needs to be sort of rethought
No,
of. You
I
don't
don't believe
believe
in that.
you don't
But
believe in that. Mm,
let's just
mm.
hang in there for a while with because I'm interested in the practical side of this. How do you implement this? Like we have a lot of resources that are essentially taken from the people, and we need some certain people to you distribute those resources between the
Right,
people they've taken it from. Because again, where do resources come from? They come from the people. So
right,
like you are only entitled to have $1,000 per month. So whatever all the surplus, all that you earn on top of that goes to those people who will allocate these resources. So what if I and many other people start to think that those people who allocate those resources, they have ill intent, they don't do it properly. So what happens then? Then we come together and say, let's create some sort of agency that will watch over those people. You know what I mean?
yes, exactly. That's exactly right. We need
And okay,
institutions.
right.
Mm.
So we need another institution. On top of that institution that will allocate those resources, we
So
will need
there,
another institution on top
I
of that.
yes, yes. So,
And
so there,
where are they going to get
right.
their
So
payroll from?
there's something that all these institutions are built on, and this is the moral fabric of the society. So
All right.
so
So
what
what do you
that
mean by
means,
that? That the society has to be moral.
the society has to be moral, and I mean that. Yeah, I mean that
Oh
exactly
yeah,
that.
yeah. And in that case, I agree because then we don't need all those institutions if we are 100%
Well,
confident that those
it
guys
doesn't
are
even
not
need to
going to
be
steal the money.
100%, but it needs to be 99%. It needs to be
Yeah,
above
well,
90%.
okay,
Like very
yeah,
high. Yeah,
I,
and
yeah. very high.
The thing is, in the beginning of an empire, in the beginning of a great civilization, usually there is that great sort of moral fabric that runs through, and then they create institutions, and then over time, these institutions decay due to the decaying moral fabric. So the problem isn't the institution. Problem is the underlying moral fabric of the
So
society.
how do you make
So,
sure? How do you make sure that people are moral?
so it's with education, yeah, and
All right,
how we
all right,
and what we prioritize, uh, what we value in education. Do we
all right.
value, like, if you look at Stoicism valued good character and excellent judgment. Now we value a high maths grade and a university degree. Like our values
Right,
are money oriented
right,
instead of, you know. So I think this
right.
is. Mm.
How do you make sure that your education is not flawed?
It depends on the people that it's produced, right? So is it producing
So,
people that are continuing to run the institutions well or not? And if they're
uh,
not,
do you mean by
so
that? Do you mean by that in order to implement the moral society, we need, like in the beginning, we need like a certain percentage of moral people to
yes,
start with, and
yes,
for them to work like relentlessly day
yes,
and night in order
yes,
to,
yes.
right, isn't it a bit of a burden for them? Are
But
they
that's
gonna
that's how it
do
is, though. That's how it is in a budding empire, in an early empire. That's how it was. That's how it is.
right?
That is what it
So
meant for the older generation. They worked hard, and we are standing on their backs, basically. That's why we
right.
can. That's why we live
Do you
complacently
know
when
do you know
when
at
they
least
live.
one person like that? Do you know personally at least one person like that who will satisfy this criteria of
You
being
mean
like
the
a
moral
moral
person?
guide? Yeah, a truly moral
Uh,
one.
yes,
You know at
yes,
least one.
yes, yeah. Mm.
Who is it?
Oh, he's my friend. Yeah, in the
All right.
UK. Yeah, yeah. So,
We have one.
yeah, I have one personal friend. Yeah, I saw him. I see him as a yeah, quite a moral, upstanding person. Yeah, yeah.
What
Mm.
if he changes his mind over time? If he changes his character changes over time? Like now he's moral and he will lead this everybody, but
It can
then
happen. It
over
can happen.
time
It can happen. I
he will
mean,
become immoral.
I
Because
I, I don't
okay,
claim I don't claim that he's a
it's
saint,
easy
but
it's easy to be moral when you don't have a lot of sort of you don't have a pile of money in front of you, like sitting in
mm,
front of you on a daily basis, and you like every day you look at that money
sure. But
like,
but but
oh,
he's quite.
I could
He,
cut a piece of that
I mean,
cake, right?
he's not rich, but he's very well off right now. Well off, yeah, he's well off. Yeah, he's doing
But
very well,
yeah,
and
what?
he has.
Yeah, well
mm,
off in what number? Like
I mean, I
six
don't know
figure?
specific. I don't know specific numbers, but he has a professional career in the UK.
Yeah, but
In the
he's
medical
not
field.
wealthy, right?
Mm,
So if he
mm.
gets to distribute like uh let's take a small town for example, like 40,000 people. That's going to be a lot of money to distribute if everybody's paying you, not paying you, but sort of give you all their income above 1,000. That's going to be it's going to be a huge wealth,
Mm.
a huge
I mean,
amount of money.
look, here's the thing. Like I say, the
Would you
we,
trust that money to that person, or would you rather have some sort of institution to watch over him?
no, no, I would rather have an institution. Yeah, right.
Right. So that in itself will decrease the value of the money, right? Because you will have to pay those people who are employed by this
Well,
institution, and
you
for that you
see,
will use that money. So this is
right.
where
So
the system.
technically, you see, we are talking. You see, we're talking about abundance or abundant resources rather than resources that just happen to be enough for for the economy of the country. You see, in reality, in my belief, I believe that a lot of these countries are swimming in money, more money that they know what to do with, right?
Uh,
And
what country, for
America for
example?
one, America for
Okay.
one,
Oh,
right?
oh, for
Uh,
sure. For sure.
right. China for
How
sure,
about
right?
China? China. Oh
China,
yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Russia, absolutely, right?
Yeah.
Mm,
Absolutely.
mm, right,
Agree.
and I would even say the Philippines, right? It has more money than it knows
Yeah.
what to do with it for itself. I'm talking about for itself. I'm not saying it's like some kind of rich country, but for itself, it has more money than it knows what to do with, in my opinion, right?
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. Makes
yeah.
sense. Yeah.
So that I mean, those are
So
some examples, in my
so
opinion,
so you
right?
mean we could basically just cut a little piece of that cake and give it to those people who are employed by that institution? That will be okay. But
Exactly. Yeah.
it creates another problem for me because like those people who are just employees with who earn like $1,000 per month, they see this huge abundance of money, and won't they be sort of tempted to,
So,
you know,
here's the thing. What do people want at the end of the day? They, no, you see, not even if everyone secretly wanted to be some kind of rich millionaire with, women lying around them or something, even if everyone wanted that, the reality is most people are somewhat practical people, right? They're
all right,
pragmatic. They understand that they're not going to, what I mean is, does the society give them the ability to be somewhat socially mobile,
all right,
right? They
okay,
could,
Matt, let's because we ran out of time, I think, but yeah, let's
yeah,
do like another
let's
another minute
continue.
because I have another point. Yeah, let's continue for another minute because I have another point. Okay, let's say we are in that we are at that point where everybody we know for sure nobody's stealing that money. How do we know they distribute it correctly? How do we know they have the expertise to
social
distribute the money
media
correctly?
social media like this is where the press and social media come in. We have journalists who, the people will talk, the people will talk, the people will complain, right? They will complain
Okay.
either in the ether or amongst themselves in the local grapevine. It doesn't really matter. People will talk, and that's how we know. Yeah. So yeah. So
All right. Yeah, makes sense. Yeah.
okay.
Well,
Mm.
sort of like on paper, it looks good. I don't know.
Okay.
I mean, it
I mean, I know
yeah.
I gave very snappy answers to your questions, but I
Right.
mean,
Let's just wrap it up. Let's just wrap it up by saying, does socialism make sense? Do you think?
in my opinion, yes. Yeah, in my opinion, yes. In your
Okay.
opinion, does it make sense or no?
Yeah. In my opinion, mm, I'm not convinced, but I know where this discussion is coming from because capitalism is pretty flawed. So
Right.
this idea that you can accumulate
Basically,
as
that's the
much
point.
money as you can
Yeah.
is flawed, and we've seen it over the course of history. But what is the cure? Because
The
as far as I
cure
understand,
is the middle
the
way.
problem of socialism, yeah, exactly, is that there are not enough agencies that can control the people start who become, the distributors of the money. And maybe now with with the technological progress and everything, we can have sort of the system more like less flawed than it was like 50 years ago. Uh, but yeah, okay, man. I think that's it for
Yeah.
today, right?
Yeah. Let's
Think
wrap it for today. Very cool.
let's
Uh,
let's wrap it for today. Yeah.
y-
Uh,